the host of Aaron's Hour, Aaron Phillips.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips, coast to coast. I am in Virginia Beach, and that motley face sitting there with me on screen is back there in Las Vegas. My good friend, Mr. John JPEG Styles. How are you, sir?
I'm outstanding. How are you, Mr. A?
I always tell you, when you're outstanding, come inside. It's a lot cooler.
There you go. Hey, listen, I got to talk about the intro, all right? And I crack up every time the intro plays because
I love the intro.
My favorite shot is you have two women sitting at the table, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lucy.
One is holding her stomach, and the other one is your face palm.
That's Lucy. Lucy May Lucifer. Lucy. Shout out to Lucy. She. I know she's doing well because I know. Her Facebook, she's a great rock and roll musician. She's got some shows coming up. I've said this to her in person on the show. She's as sultry and as sexy as you can get. And her pictures that she does to promote her shows, she's got one coming up. I saw it very quickly this morning. But Lucy, I love you, kiddo. Actually, folks, as you all are watching this, kind of dabbling and running around in Las Vegas as well. So I'm kind of back around the stomping grounds after the show. So I'll be running around Vegas for about a week later today through the rest of the week here in Vegas. Nice heat. You know why? Because back in Vegas, or back in Virginia Beach, the past week before I got out here, John, 60 some odd degrees, no rain. My hands were freezing during the mornings waking up. So, and I have to listen to this part of the vernacular. I actually have to think about getting ready to close up my pool for the winter. Think about that. All right. Just had a shed built in my backyard for all the supplies. So that's happening. But listen, I want to thank everybody for watching this morning here on Facebook. Remember, if you're already watching me on the Aaron's Hour show page, that's cool. You do have an option because then you can check out all the other shows, the plethora of shows, if you choose to want to go watch over at the WWDB-TV Las Vegas. Don't forget those two words on the Facebook page. Now, if you like YouTube, that's cool. You can check out the show there as well on the Aaron's Hour show page or the WWDB-TV YouTube channels. Remember to click the little bell on there so you subscribe. Now, of course, in a couple of days from now, streaming services, and we know everybody loves streaming, go to Roku, download the WWDB-TV channel on Roku, and not only do you get the plethora of Aaron's Hour shows, but you get the plethora of choices, the plethora of episodes to watch of all the shows and the great shows, and there's new shows coming on, and all sorts of good stuff that is developing. And soon, I haven't even said this to John. This is breaking news to John. I actually have a podcast class that I'm working on back in Virginia coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I may have a couple of potential new shows coming out of this. Therefore, you may be hearing about some wonderful news about a new, the WVBV TV network and affiliation here on the East Coast. So stuff is happening. And as a matter of fact, my guest today, he'll be coming on with me in a few minutes. He's also an individual that I mentioned about. He's got some great minds about what he wants to do with the community and bring people together. I've even floated the idea, John, past Richard Morris, my guest coming up in a bit, about him doing a show with his ideas and things that he wants to bring forth to make community stronger. Richard Morris, he's what you would call your serial, Cereal, in order to keep it light, entrepreneur, not Serial. I don't want people to get confused. He is a serial entrepreneur.
Don't you have that backwards?
What entrepreneur serial?
Serial entrepreneur.
Right. What did I say?
Well, you said CER, not SER.
No, I know, but he's a funny guy. It would be funnier with cereal, Cereal, like Cheerios and Wheaties cereal.
He's going to be selling cereal from his different websites.
Correct. That's correct. Yes, exactly. But no, he is a businessman. He started well over.
Maybe you should get into the milk business then. Maybe you guys could do a joint venture or something there.
For all I know, he could have a cow in the backyard. Who the heck knows? Get your fresh milk with your cereal. But he's started well over a dozen businesses in his career. He also has. I've never heard of this really of people doing a business with this, but hey, why not? The man owns a portfolio of well over 400 domain names for websites and stuff, and he has great ideas for that. We'll get to talking with Richard in a little bit. Richard Morris will join me, a member of the Virginia Beach Kiwanis Club. But we're here to talk about his businesses and people to get to know him, because those of you in the local area here, if you like your seafood, especially crab cakes, his new business venture is actually home delivery of the freshest seafood and crabs cakes you can find in the area. So we'll talk about that as well. All right, with that, so what's happening back there with you, John? Anything exciting with the world of WWDB TV in Las Vegas since I last seen you?
Actually, yeah. You're familiar with our Nevada judges, are you not?
Yes, that's a great show you have on there.
We're in the process of interviewing judges that are running for election.
Aha.
We got a couple more coming up. I think Thursday. We got some more. We just had a few last week. And it's a chance for everybody to, when they go into the ballot box, most people will get about halfway down the ballot. But when it comes to the school board, the dog catcher, the judges, most people don't bother. And these are the people that affect our everyday lives more so than anybody in Washington, D.C. And so we have been trying to educate the public so that they know who these candidates are, what their records are, and whether or not they should vote for them, rather than, oh, I saw that guy's sign on the way to the voting booth, I'll vote for him. Exactly. Or I'm going to vote for all women this time, or only if people have their first half of the alphabet, So it's just something that we do, and we've been doing it for a few years now, and I think it helps. So
no, that's great. I mean, education across the board, as long as it's balanced, is always good. And you said something there, and this is probably about as close to anything political I'll say on any public forum like this.
Good. Don't get me started.
No, I know. That's why I'm trying to be very careful. But I agree with something you said there, and that is, the local elections, the mayors, the councilmen, the school boards have more impact on the daily life than those people in Washington, D.C. And again, what they do is, I'm not denouncing the importance of what anybody does. Don't get me wrong. But by the time what they do trickles down to my daily life or your daily life, it's not as immediate as someone today who maybe is going to increase the toll zone bridge on the Chesapeake Tunnel that's going to affect my pocket when I have to drive up to New Jersey. So I agree with you. I'm more in tune on the local level of what's going on, because those things tend to impact me and my neighbors on a more local level. Speaking of which, changing gears real quickly, folks, this past week was September 11th, of course, was the remembrance of that our terrible event. Hopefully y'all participated in something, maybe went. So I know the Chesapeake Kiwanis Club, we had an event out there at Chesapeake City Park this past week. It was great. The weather was great for an event to remember. So hopefully you all did something there to keep 9/11 fresh in your mind. On the heels of the show we did last week, which was very well received. And we want to thank everybody for watching there. Again, I want to thank Frank Pizarro, Jim Horn, and of course, Richard Pippin for joining me last week. All right, let's get to it. I have some Vegas Unwrapped news. So you know what it's time for. It's time for Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
With a nod to the past and an eye to the future, here is Aaron Phillips with Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
And today's Vegas Unwrapped 2.0 is rather apropos, because the majority of my stories are actually Vegas related today, since I'm back. Yeah, I'm back there today. But I do have one story, Virginia Beach related, that I was going to share last week, but ran out of time for. Now, when we think first responders, John, we always think, police, fire, ambulance, the typical first responders. But I think there's a group that gets overshadowed and really never thought about unless you're in a town like Virginia Beach, with an ocean, a lake, and those are lifeguards. Would you think lifeguards should be considered as first responders?
I would hope so.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Because if you have to wait to an ambulance to get to the place where you're drowning,
you're in trouble.
You're SOL, yeah.
Yes, and especially if someone from the ambulance can't swim, that really doesn't help you very much either. So, in my mind, lifeguards in a beach town like Virginia Beach, or on the anywhere along the coast, Pacific Coast, Atlantic. Here's a great stat for whatever it's worth. Water rescues. Tides come in, storms come in. You have surfers that go out there in the middle of storms for whatever the reason. Surprise tides, the undertows from the ocean can really surprise people. Well, here's the thing. This past year so far here in Virginia Beach, and this comes from where's the Tom Gill? He's the chief of the Virginia Beach Life Saving Service. as far as water rescue activity, quote, Gil said, when you compare it to a year ago, last year they pulled out over 800 people from water rescues, 800. Wow. This year, thus far, leading up to this, was just before Labor Day, they are closer to somewhere between 200 to 300 water rescues, almost down 50% in the amount of water rescues that our lifeguards have had to go through, which is great. Labor Day, his team will eliminate outer beach staffing through September 15th. So this weekend right now is the last weekend that some of the beaches will actually have lifeguards. And then there will also we'll start patrolling the resort area down on Virginia Beach all the way through to the middle of October. So by the middle of October, there'll be no lifeguards on duty anywhere. But kudos to the swimmers and families and everybody for staying safe, taking water precautions, and other eyeballs watching everybody, and to the first responder lifeguards, down 50% approximately from last year. Kudos to everybody involved there. All right, I haven't done this one. Go ahead.
I think another reason why they should be considered first responders is because they know first aid.
Yep.
They can resuscitate you, hopefully.
Yep.
So, I would consider definitely first responders.
And they carry bat shark repellent in their utility belt when they go out in the water.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know where the lady lifeguards put it, but they don't wear the one piece anymore. They wear the red, but it's a 2-piece string bikini. I don't know where they put any supplies anymore in those things, but we'll leave that for another conversation for another show.
Backpacks. Compensate for the weight, balance.
Weight distribution. Talk about buoys. But anyway, okay, here's something I haven't announced in a while. There was a big winner this past week there in Las Vegas. A tourist identified as Scott A. from Omaha, Nebraska. He was playing Pai Gow, which, by the way, I think is one of the hardest games to play there. I sit and I try to watch Pai Gow. I can't figure it out.
I don't get it. Yeah.
He was playing Pai Gow poker, Planet Hollywood and Resort last week when he hit a 7-card straight flush on the progressive jackpot. Well, Caesars Entertainment said Scott was playing for about an hour and a half when he hit the jackpot, winning $1.6 million. Hey, Scott, if you're watching, I know a seafood delivery fishing company here in the Virginia Beach area that's looking for investors and a TV studio. So if you're looking for some ideas, we can help you with that. Scott said he was visiting the casino that night to watch football. The picture in the newspaper had him wearing a Patrick Mahomes jersey. Scott said when he hit the jackpot, his first reaction was to call his wife. And he said he plans to invest the winnings. All right.
Not to tell her to move out?
Yeah, exactly. I'm upgrading the year. Speaking of gaming there in Las Vegas, this is numbers through July. This is interesting. New report from the Nevada Gaming Control Board showed a nearly 7% decrease in gaming wins for the state last month. According to the report, Nevada's overall winnings for July of 2024 totaled, let's see if I count how many zeros and commas I got here, $1.3 billion, which is 6.9% down from last year's total around this time when it was $1.4 billion. One of the what's that?
Poor babies.
Yeah, I know, right? One of the state's biggest losses came from the Las Vegas Strip, which saw a 50% decrease for the month. However, downtown Las Vegas would see almost a 10% increase. Downtown went up 10% with their winnings. So,
wow.
Like you just said, I don't feel bad. Now, of course, the Tropicana Hotel, well, that's wrapping up. Well, we know it's already closed down. It closed down April, if I'm not mistaken, before I relocated out of Vegas there. October 9th is the date that Bally's Corporation apparently will begin all the festivities. Wednesday, October 9th, the dazzling visuals will be engineered by Fireworks by Grucci, followed by the hotel's implosion at 2:30 a.m. So if you're in the area,
I'll be there.
Yes. Are you good? Are you going to go down to watch it?
I just might.
Well, yeah, 2:30 a.m. for you is lunchtime.
That's my lunchtime, man. So.
Exactly. So mark your calendars for October 9th. Listen, where else in the world can a building implosion actually be an event? Not many places can do it like Vegas.
It's a tradition here, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you've been around when it happens, and it's a big deal.
God knows on that corner, that'll be the only time that anything explosive will happen, because once the Oakland A's start playing, ain't nothing going to happen on that corner. Anyway, hey, you guys have a race coming back in November. The F1 is coming back. Rumor has it, well, and I know it, construction is already starting in and around the Strip corridor again. The lights and the roads and that flyover little bridge there on, was it Koval and Flamingo or Harmon or wherever, that's all starting. But did you know that the Las Vegas Tourism Authority approves $1.7 million worth of purchases of F1 tickets for themselves? That's right.
So what's that, 4 tickets?
Just, would you believe 135 tickets at $12,000 a ticket, ladies and gentlemen, $12,000 a ticket. And that is, and yet a quarter of the amount, and that's only 25% of the number of tickets they purchased last year. These are for international intermediaries who bring hundreds of thousands of room nights a year from Europe or Asia or South America or Central America, said Steve Hill, the CEO of the Convention Authority. The board voted to unanimously approve the purchase during a recent meeting. That's right. Crazy. And hopefully one of the things that they're learning to do before we go to break, last year was a total debacle for a lot of reasons. But nobody was hurt more than the employees who worked at the casinos in and around the Strip when it comes to getting to and from work. So here's what they're hoping to do. Las Vegas organizers are shifting into gear this week to begin preparation. Together with the support of the Convention Authority, we are setting up an employee mobility program, a very convenient park and ride option, so that all hospitality workers can get in and out of their shift during hot tracks and the event itself. We have a convenient way to get them to their shift to get to work, said Lori Nelson Kraft, Senior Vice President of Corporate Affairs for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Now, here's some things to keep in mind, folks. Due to lighting installation already, drivers that are near Harmon Avenue between Las Vegas Boulevard and Koval will see reduced lanes at night. That's already started, so keep that in mind. If you're coming into Vegas, keep that in mind. Right near the Tuscany, where I am at, lanes will be reduced on Koval and Rochelle as crews work to install, again, the wonderful pedestrian bridge. And commuters are advised to stay aware, and stay away of that area during work. All right, so F1 is coming into town. I'm in town. Why? Because Wrestle Connects down at Tuscany Hotel is taking place today, 10 a.m. $10 to come in, a plethora of wrestling talent and collectibles. Come on down. And then at 7 p.m., if you're down near Fremont Street, open to the public, is the after show party at the Nerd Bar, 7 p.m. there. So I'm probably going to be there for a little bit. Anyway, come on down, say hello. I'm excited. But with that, we're going to step aside for our first break so we come back. He's been waiting patiently in the green room. My guest, Mr. Richard Marsh, will join us right here in Aaron's Hour. We'll be right back.
Are you feeling overwhelmed?
I am feeling overwhelmed. Are we back already? Hello, John. Are we running commercials?
Hang on. It's not coming up.
All right. No.
Are you feeling overwhelmed or stressed? Remember to take a moment for your mental health. At the Mental Health Moment, we believe in the power of self-care and community support. Our mission is to encourage and empower individuals across generations to prioritize their mental well-being. Our program called CARE takes you through community, awareness, resources, and education so we can support you every step of the way. Join us at the Mental Health Moment. Visit our website or follow us on social media because your mental health matters. Remember, take a moment for your mental health.
Hi, I'm John P.G. Stiles. Some people call me JPEG. You can probably guess why. I'm the founder and partner at WWDB TV. Does your business need a commercial, or do you already have one and you just want to get the message out there? Do you need a sizzle reel? Do you need an audition tape for a part that you're up for? Or have you ever thought about hosting your own show? Well, this is the place, WWDB TV.
All right, welcome back. I love that homeless guy. Does a great job. All right, with that, it's now time to get down to some serious business. Locally, if you want some great crab cakes and she crab, which, by the way, she crab is something new I've had to add to my vocabulary out here. This gentleman will hook you up out here. He is a good friend of mine. I met him in Kiwanis out here, the Virginia Beach Kiwanis Club. He is a serial entrepreneur, not to be confused with Cheerios Rice Krispies, but one will say He's still a good guy no matter what. Please join me at this time, Mr. Richard Morris. Good morning, Richard. Come on in. How are you there?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. How you
Jumbo
doing,
Lump Daddy. Jumbo Lump Daddy. I'm doing good, my friend. It's another day in paradise here in Virginia Beach and Las Vegas, so I can't complain. You look good over there. It's you had me a little worried you look good over there on that camera. You know what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. So, Richard, you know what? I want you to relax. We'll have some fun here. You see on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, Jumbo Lump Daddy. Now, I know there's a story behind that. So why don't you share the story behind how you got Jumbo Lump Daddy?
Okay, I will do that. Jumbo Lump is the best part of the crab that makes up crab cakes. Not all crab cakes have what they call jumbo lump crab meat in them, but it's the part of the crab that has the biggest and best tasting part of a crab. And so the name Jumbo Lump Daddy, there was a band that played up on what's called the northern neck of Virginia here off the Chesapeake Bay. And the name of the band was Jumbo Lump Daddy and the Backfin Boys. And I thought, wow, all I ever wanted was a T-shirt that said Jumbo Lump Daddy and the Backfin Boys. Well, anyway, they played for about 8 years. I actually never had an opportunity to hear them play, but they still have a Facebook page up. And the fellow that was the lead Jumbo Lump Daddy, he's from Richmond. I think he worked in social services. Okay. And he actually came up with the name. So I decided when I discovered the best crab cakes in the world here locally, I decided to reference Jumbo Lump Daddy. I happen to own the domain jumbolumpdaddy.com, but ultimately my fresh seafood delivery business will be called Waterman Seafood.
Right on.
That's the plan.
You don't owe them any royalties for using the name now, do you?
Pardon me? No, I do not.
Might be a good thing for them. I mean, if they're still playing and they hear the name out there, but
they're not still playing. They're
done. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. All right. So what I want to do real briefly as you can. I mean, I mentioned at the top, you started well over a dozen businesses. You have the business now, the domain ownership, which you mentioned. What's your love for business? What was the aha moment for you when you realized that being and getting into business, owning businesses, successfully running business, why was that the direction for you in life?
Yeah, as a kid growing up in the DC area, I was always cutting lawns. I was shoveling driveways. We were in the northern side of the Washington DC area, and we got a fair amount of snow, so I'd shovel driveways and just to make extra money. And then I learned too, even when I went off to college, I was doing certain things. I was ironing shirts. My mom had taught me how to iron. I would just iron the sleeves and collars on the shirts for 15 cents. And I don't iron the whole shirt, I think, for like a quarter, but just any way to make a buck. And I learned that from my grandfather. His name was Ben Goldstein. And he would always challenge me that when I was a little kid, however many sticks I picked up in the yard after a storm, he'd give me a penny a stick or something like that. And boy, I'd hustle to pick up sticks, all along the way. So, I just kind of, I guess in my DNA to a certain extent, but it's because both my grandfather and my father were self-employed businessmen. And I just think it kind of was innate in me to start businesses and to generate revenue and income from that.
So what was you mentioned in your bio started well over a dozen. So what was the very first one that you started successfully of those 12?
The first business that I started successfully that's still in business today, I started in 1973. I came to Virginia Beach, as I mentioned earlier. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, went to college in a little liberal arts school in North Carolina called North Carolina Wesleyan College. And that's where I met my wife. And I ended up coming to the Virginia Beach area, which I'll mention too, by the way. Virginia Beach happens to be the largest city population-wise in the state of Virginia. Very few know that. They think it would be Richmond or, Alexandria or some another city. But Virginia Beach is the largest resort capital in the world. We have a population of about 500,000 people here in Virginia Beach. So anyway, when I settled here after college, I had a little debt recovery company called Credit Service of Eastern Carolina while I was in college, mostly to make some beer money and some green fee money for playing golf. And the reason why I was in that business, in that industry, is because my grandfather, who I call Pop-Up, Ben Goldstein, he was in that industry in the DC area. And so when I came to Virginia Beach in 73, I started Credit Control Corporation.
Okay.
And Credit Control Corporation did debt recovery and eventually did medical billing for hospitals and doctor and medical groups. And I had the business for about, I'd say 15 years. I started in 73, ended up selling it in 1988, and went into the medical billing business. But you can go to Credit Control Corporation .net, I think it is, and you'll see where they're still in business today. So I'm sort of proud of that I'd started it, and it's lasted this long.
Sure.
Also, the medical billing business that evolved from that, a company called Axel, that's still in business today too, doing mostly what's called hospital-based physicians billing. And I had a partner who was my technical partner. He had a computer science degree from LSU. I'm pretty technically limited myself. I'm more the sales guy and the operations guy. But if it wasn't for my partner who ran the technical side of the business, we'd have never survived. But even that business is still in business today.
Well, that's good because, having those businesses still around, it's a great legacy that those entities are still out there and thriving. So what I want to do before we get into the Waterman Seafood stuff, let's talk about domains. I mean, listen, I'm a collector of stuff. People have been in my studio between my Batman and wrestling and sports stuff. I'm a collector. Okay. I collect stuff. You have domains. Your business is buying and owning domains, computer domain names. How did that get started? And why do you feel that is such a commodity to have for yourself?
Well, I really didn't know much about the domain industry or domain business until I think it was around 2015. Although the industry, when the internet, and I think you were around when the internet started, and so was I. That's like in the mid 80s. And now I think you're about 10 years younger than me, maybe even more. But so I was probably 35 years old when the internet actually started. And, it started with, domains and domain names. And I really didn't own my first domain name until about 2000. And here's where, a serial entrepreneur that I am, you have failures too, but I started a business called Contact USA, and it was a call center that did a lot of work for a company in Richmond. You remember Circuit City?
Oh, yeah.
They were a pretty large company, and they were outsourcing quite a bit of work to me. And so I picked up the domain Contact USA because that's basically what we were doing. So, and I registered the domain Contact USA. Unfortunately, Contact USA did not make it when Circuit City imploded. Basically, my business imploded. I had it for about 10 years. Wow. But that goes with the territory. Failure comes about. I didn't have failures earlier on in my business life, but I had a major one there around 2000.
Gotcha. And if memory serves, and I know John is back there in the studio, there was a Circuit City on West Sahara near Decatur. Of course, coming in from Jersey, there were a bunch of Circuit Cities, but I can only think of the one in Vegas. It was there when I first moved out there on Sahara near Decatur. All right, so let's fast forward now. Here you are. You're in Virginia Beach area now. How long?
I've been in Virginia Beach since 1973. That's when I came here and opened the business Credit Control.
So we're looking at about 51-ish years. So we're away from credit. We're away from Circuit City. Now we're talking seafood. Talk to me about how this idea of Waterman Seafood and delivery of seafood came about.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to mention I've always told friends and all, everybody thinks about getting into the restaurant business at one time in their life. But I've learned enough about the restaurant business that I've told all my friends and everybody, if I ever say to anybody I'm going into the restaurant business, just pull out a gun and shoot me, because I've totally lost my mind. And go back a year ago now, if you had told me I'd be involved in anything having to do with delivering food, seafood and all, I'd say, I've lost my mind too.
Right.
But here's how that came about. Last Christmas holiday season, my wife and I, we owed several couples, about 5 couples, a dinner. And so we had a dinner party at our house. And my wife makes a famous dish called seafood casserole, which is pretty doggone good. But I happened to be in a local seafood market that was just getting started. It was called Seafood Exchange, about a mile from my house. And I see these crab cakes in this little local seafood market. And they were $10 a piece, which, you could have gotten the same sort of crab cakes at a Wegmans here for maybe $7 or something like that. But they looked so doggone good. I ended up buying 12 of these crab cakes for this Christmas dinner. So I bring them home, and I think I bought some soup too. But without question, everyone at the dinner table said, "Where in the world did you get these crab cakes? Did you make them?" And I basically said, "No." I said, "I got them at the Seafood Exchange, a little new seafood restaurant." And a young lady whose son happens to be named Fisher, she was the one that made the crab cakes.
You couldn't have done any better with that, that's for sure.
Yeah. And in addition to crab cakes, she makes about 5 different types of seafood soup, from, as you mentioned, she crab soup. She makes regular Maryland style crab soup, which is a tomato based, like Manhattan clam chowder. She makes Hatter's corn chowder. She also makes oyster stew. And so I realized that a couple of crab cakes and a cup of soup could make for a real nice dinner for 2 people. Yeah. And so anyway, I get home and I start to thinking about, I looked up this business model, DoorDash, and I knew you've heard of it, and all our listeners know of DoorDash, also Uber Eats and things like that. Well, when I first looked it up, I noticed that DoorDash was a $43 billion market cap company. And I thought, wow, how in the heck can that be? So I started doing some just basic research and discovered that, and prior to COVID, I think they started around 2012, but prior to COVID, they were growing and they were doing okay. But when COVID hit, their stock just took off.
Sure.
And I don't even know that they're quite profitable yet, but I studied a little bit of their business model and I said, maybe there's a niche here delivering fresh seafood, locally to begin with. Ultimately, it's a scalable business anywhere fresh seafood can be had. But so I just started doing some of the number crunching and discovered that I could deliver fresh seafood dinner for 2 to a house, to a cooler at your front door. And I could deliver it for under the price of $50. And, if you go out to eat, say $45 to under $50, dinner for 2, seafood dinner, good seafood, that's not a bad deal. And then I discovered a subscription model where you'd get paid in advance for like 4 weeks of seafood. And your partner there was mentioning something about milk delivery. We were talking earlier about that. And this is basically similar to the milkman business model that would deliver milk regularly on a subscription basis to a household that needed milk. And I think they delivered, back in the day, they have very few now, but they delivered milk and butter and
all the dairy products.
Yeah, all sorts of things. So that's how it evolved and how it got started. Then I first decided, I got to come up with a name. Jumbo Lump Daddy is still catchy and it's still part of the name, but I plan on having crab on top of the vehicle that's delivering the fresh seafood.
Gotcha.
It says Jumbo Lump Daddy. That's the delivery guy, basically.
Now you started the business. I know you're making a few deliveries here and there, but
Just a couple, yeah.
But is that more at this point like a test run of the process for yourself?
That's correct. A couple of people have asked me. I had some business cards made up. I think you've got one of my business cards that has a picture of a crab on the front, and on the back it has a picture of a crab cake, and it's pretty delicious. And I think your viewers can see that. And then on the back of the business card, it's they can take pictures now of any kind of food to make it look like it's right there on your business, ready to eat. And so I had some business cards made up, and I've been handing them out. And this goes back, maybe I started that about 6 months ago. Okay. But then I've had a couple of people said, Richard, when are you going to start delivering crab cakes? And I said, well, I've got a supplier, and I've got actually 2 suppliers. And I said, when do you want some? And they said, well, can you bring over 6 crab cakes this evening? We got some folks coming in from out of town, and maybe some steamed shrimp from Carolina, and maybe some soup. So I've actually delivered to 2 or 3 people like that have said, hey, Richard, time you need to start doing it. But there are things when you're starting a business like this, you need to have, proper insurance, licensing and everything else. And I'm looking for some investors to get involved with me to help. So, I'm also looking potentially for some youth. I'm 76 years young. I'll be 77 next month. But I'd like to get some youth involved with me that can carry this forward, because it's got a lot of potential.
So we see on the screen right now, John has popped it up, Waterman Seafood Company. That is Richard. Give him a call at 757-439-9902. Not only can you inquire about, obviously, the business, and like he said, he's looking for structure financially as well as personnel, but order some crab cakes, because if he gets busy, then that'll infuse everything. So that's a good thing. It's a win-win across the board. Now, I know you're on Facebook. Do you have a website set up for the business yet? Or
No, I do not. Now, I'm personally on Facebook, but I do not have a Facebook page for Waterman Seafood or Jumbo Lump Daddy yet. But that's something that's going to be coming about sooner rather than later. But my email address, by the way, which I've had this name for 23 years, is richard@makesomethinghappen.com. And there's not a website that goes with it, but that's just been my email address because I'm in the business of making things happen.
And we'll get to that. That's a great segue. I want to stop right there, so I don't want to go too far ahead, because we're going to be coming up to a commercial break here in a few moments.
Sure.
And we'll talk about some of those other things here, because it's going to all tie into the business as well, because Richard wants to use his business as a vessel as well to also help some of these other things to help happen. We'll get to that in a few minutes. With that, though, before we go to break, Richard, I'm going to pepper you with some questions that have absolutely nothing to do with anything serious other than testing likes and dislikes and seeing how our audience will go, I didn't know that about Richard. So here you go, real quick. This is off the cuff, first thing that comes to mind kind of stuff. So be ready to rock and roll. Who is your favorite all-time actor, male version, favorite all-time actor?
Favorite all-time actor is A Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite all-time actress, female side?
Favorite all-time actress, female side, Lucille Ball.
Oh, my good. You know what? Are you saying that because of Vanessa and the chocolate?
No. I just always thought the world of her, and one of the funniest.
Brilliant. Yeah. She was brilliant. All right. All-time favorite movie, so that when it comes on your TV or wherever, you grab your favorite snack, your favorite adult beverage, your spouse or friend or whomever, you turn off your phone, you don't want to be bothered for 3 hours. That movie is what?
It's A Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart.
I figured you answered it, but I had to ask it anyway.
Right.
What's your favorite music genre? What kind of music you like to listen to?
I really like Motown. And I grew up with Motown, the Four Tops, the Temptations. I really, really do like it. And second would be beach music. Now that I'm here in Virginia Beach, that's a good music genre that I like.
My guest last week, Frank Pizarro, was the front man for the Four Tops for 10 years, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if you look him up on Facebook, check him out. All right, so that leads me to this question about music then. You're driving along, you're making your delivery, you're coming to a red light. Now, what is your favorite all-time song so that when it comes on the radio, you're singing like it's karaoke, unhinged. You don't care what you're looking like singing to your favorite song. People are going to look in your car wondering, what is going on with that guy? What song is that for you?
Actually, a local artist, Pharrell Williams, sings Happy.
Okay.
And, that's one. I think I've got more than one probably, but that's the first one that comes to mind.
There you go. And speaking of him, he's got a festival coming up here in Virginia Beach in October, which I may be doing some stuff with another acquaintance of mine. So can't wait to do that. All right. With that.
I've got one other one I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, 1965, when I graduated high school. I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction.
I hate to do this, Richard, but I was 1 year old when that song came out. But anyway, with that, we're going to step aside for our second break of the commercial. We come back, we're going to learn more about how Richard makes things happen, more about the business, or a few more crazy questions, and then we're going to call it a day. You're watching Aaron's Hour Coast to Coast. Be right back.
Are you feeling overwhelmed or stressed? Remember to take a moment for your mental health. At the Mental Health Moment, we believe in the power of self-care and community support. Our mission is to encourage and empower individuals across generations to prioritize their mental well-being. Our program called CARE takes you through community, awareness, resources, and education so we can support you every step of the way. Join us at the Mental Health Moment. Visit our website or follow us on social media because your mental health matters. Remember, take a moment for your mental health.
Are you looking for someone to provide training to your staff? Do you need a motivational speaker about how to handle change? Do you have an upcoming event that needs an MC to handle those responsibilities? Well, look no further than longtime Las Vegas radio personality Aaron Phillips. I am local to Las Vegas and I can blend my talents with any audience. For more information, please visit www.aaronphillipsvoice.com and book me for your next event or training needs.
All right, welcome back to Aaron's Hour. By the way, if you want to find Richard on Facebook, you can look him up, Richard, and he's got his middle name, Goldstein, Goldstein, Morris, Richard Goldstein Morris. His avatar picture is he's on the golf course wearing a baseball cap. Of course, if you saw the promo posts I put up for the show, it's that same picture you're looking for with that. So Jumbo Lump Daddy joins me, Richard Morris. We're talking about his upcoming business, Waterman Seafood. We're getting to learn a little bit more about him behind the scenes with my crazy, bizarre questions. But I want to get back to something that he talked about. Again, you can reach out to Richard by dialing 757-439-9902 to learn more about the delivery, get some food delivered. Or, you know what, if you're an investor, you're looking for something to invest in and get behind a solid guy and a solid company, this is the man to get behind and support with his business, Waterman Seafood Company. And if you're younger of age, perhaps, what did you say you're turning how old next month?
I'll be 77.
So as long as you can get working papers at 16, give him a call. He's looking for young people, young mind and energy to join him in the company so that this company, as well as some of his others, can last a legacy. You can also email him at richard@makesomethinghappen.com. So let's talk about that because, I've been in this town now only about 3 months in Virginia Beach. You were one of the first individuals that I met courtesy of Kiwanis. You and I hit it right off at that first meeting because we have a lot in common with wanting to help community and help others succeed and move communities forward. So, folks, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I had a great lady on the show, Dr. Vanessa McCoy Owen. She's the founder of Martin Luther King Family Life Center. It was Richard who put us together. So talk to me about why and we can use her organization as an example. Why are you, first of all, so ingrained in making certain that the community as a whole, I don't care if it's Virginia Beach or wherever you are, is in the right frame of mind? Let's look at it that way. Why is that so important to you?
Well, I legitimately enjoy people. I actually own a domain, iloveeveryone.com. And
Yep.
if I'm ever to get a tattoo, which I think I may, I've got 2 that I would get, but I love everyone with a heart, probably on my arm. And maybe I'll do that on one of your shows someday. Have somebody do a tattoo for me. And, pretty much everybody, I don't know if you have a tattoo or not, Aaron.
I do not.
You do not. Would you ever get a tattoo?
No, for 2 reasons. Number 1, I hate pain. But number 2, being of the Jewish faith, it is not something that we do to quote unquote desecrate our body, because it is believed we go out the way we came in. So that's just a religious thing. Nor do I have a desire to do it unless it's a big Batman logo. I put the big Batman logo right here on my chest.
So there are some exceptions there.
There might be, yeah, I might be. Yes, there might be one. That would be about it.
Right. So anyway, I really do. If I could meet somebody new every day, I do what's called a SWOT analysis for my businesses. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we all have strengths, and we all have weaknesses. We all have opportunities, and there are also threats to whatever it is, our part in life. But anyway, I just enjoy people. Like when I first met you, I did a little research behind the scenes and found out you're on what's called LinkedIn, as am I, as a business guy. Yep. And I found out you'd gone to Penn State and studied math. And so I'd like to do a little bit of research on people to know a little more about them, so we can engage more in conversation about our backgrounds and our experience. And every one of us has a lot of good things in common with everyone else. And but you got to communicate. You got to get to meet them. And one of my weaknesses is, I do listen. I do a fair amount of research, but I tend to talk too much. That's a weakness. And every once in a while, I'll give you an example of the medical billing business I was in. We were selling. I told you I had a technical partner, and I could talk myself into a sale and out of a sale if I didn't shut up. So we were meeting with the president of Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Hampshire in New Hampshire, and we were out at his home, and my partner and I, we had this signal. When you've made the sale, Richard, just shut up. And he said,
talking about the weather.
He kicked me under the table, and I just knew it was time to shut up. Let's get out of here.
In timeshare, when I sold timeshare, we had the same thing. When you get the sale and everything, stop talking business. Just talk about the weather, talk about the moon, anything. So I certainly understand that. John, back in the studio there, I think John has a question relating to the seafood business.
Okay.
And I don't want it to escape. So, John, if you're there, if you want to jump on and ask?
Yes.
Go ahead.
How far do you deliver?
Well, right now,
what is your geographic area?
Okay. As I had mentioned to Aaron, Virginia Beach is the largest city population-wise in Virginia. And around the waterways where I live, I'm at the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean and the Chesapeake Bay. So right around all the different waterfront areas where I live, there are about 100,000 homes, of which about 80% of them are two-person households. So basically, I'm limited to Virginia Beach and the local area right now.
For now.
I will plan on going further north towards. I grew up in Annapolis in the Washington, D.C. area. That's where I started crabbing as a kid, was a little village called Shadyside, Maryland, off of the Chesapeake Bay. But that's ultimately wherever fresh seafood. Now I don't think there's a lot of fresh seafood in Vegas. I don't know, but it's got to be shipped in.
Yeah, if you get crab cakes here, you go see a doctor. Yeah.
Leave it to John.
If you get crab, okay, I got you. But anyway,
right now it's just local delivery. But is there a potential of coast to coast delivery?
Without a doubt, there is. The cost of shipping, though, I went to send my brother, who lives in Colorado, couple crab cakes, and he grew up like I did around the Chesapeake Bay too, and crabbing and fishing and all. And I these same crab cakes that I mentioned that we had for dinner that kind of got me into this business. I went to ship 2 crab cakes, next day delivery, using one of the popular shipping sources. They wanted $130 to ship 2 crab cakes to Colorado. So my brother's got to wait till he gets here to get some crab cakes. But if you do it on a much larger scale, ultimately, I think you can get that price down to maybe $35, but that's as much as the crab cakes cost.
Right, and get that West Coast distributor too. Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Franchise.
No, hey, by the way, John, you're a business guy, and that's part of my ultimate business model. I don't know whether it's scalable, but franchising is maybe a way to go. I'm not sure, but that's something. If you read through,
your only problem would be as long as the quality of the product that you're sending. If that restaurant goes out of business, you better get the recipe, my friend.
That's extreme. You're exactly,
or make them a partner.
Right. Now that makes total sense. So either franchise, and that's all part of my kind of SWOT analysis. That's what comes under opportunity. Yep. In the SWOT analysis that you might do for a business.
Yeah, the nice thing with something like this is that the possibilities are relatively endless of what direction the business can go. So those in the listening area locally in the Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area, your zip codes of interest that he was alluding to is 23451, 5254, and 55. And I know that because he was kind enough to provide me with this SWOT analysis. So I'm reading it right off of his information. I'm not that good, but when you get the info, I'm going to share it. All right. Thank you, John. All right. So let's go back to it. So let's go back to the entrepreneur community spirit. So we know you support Vanessa, Martin Luther King Family Life Center. You and you kind of rodeoed me into getting involved with an event that's actually a year away. And that is something the Old Kempsville Festival to celebrate Kempsville next year. Again, helping the community to bring forth the historical nature of just Kempsville itself, where I reside, is a pretty established community in terms of being on the map.
Yeah, and this was really news to me. Here I've been a resident of Virginia Beach, pretty active in like Kiwanis, very active in my church, active in a club that I belong to where I play golf, and active in a number of things. I work at a gym where I've seen the same people for 25 years. It's a pretty good sized gym. But Kempsville happens to be a community about maybe 15 or 20 minutes from where my community is. And I always knew about Kempsville. I knew it always had a lot of traffic. And I think the population of Kempsville is considered to be around 70,000 people. And then I had learned that one of the very first shots of the Revolutionary War occurred at Kemp's Landing way back in the 1700s. And I thought, wow, I never really thought of that. And Kemp's Landing is where some of the tall ships had come in. This is long before we had powered ships. Back in the 1600s and all. We were founded, as a matter of fact, I live across from what's called First Landing State Park in Virginia Beach. And that's where, Jamestown and Williamsburg and all those ships went right by my house. So anyway, the Revolutionary War, the first shot was fired in Virginia in the Revolutionary War way back in the day, about 250 years ago. Right. So I get a call about bringing the Kiwanis, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club to get together to celebrate this particular event. And then I learn about all this history. The Daughters of the American Revolution were there. And so now I've introduced it to a lot of other folks, and I'm going to be on the committee. And I think, Aaron, you're going to be on the committee to help pull off this, and it's a year out from now, September.
Yeah, next September of 25. And if understanding the geography, as limited as I have still of the area, where this is all taking place is like literally about a mile from where I currently live, because I currently reside in Kempsville.
Right.
So
There you
I'm right there. So these are just some of the things that go on in the community that Richard loves getting involved with through Kiwanis, through his own ventures. And again, really identifying the things in a community that needs to be either brought forth and to make people aware, remind people of things like manners and yes, sir, and please and thank you. That's a whole nother topic for another show that we'll get into. Speaking of which, and I kind of alluded this at the top with John, as I'm meeting people and networking and trying to develop my relationship base out here, potential shows. And there is one you and I actually talked about that you would like to do eventually, that you and I may pair together, talking about things that really concern Americans and what it is that we need to face to do. So Richard is a guy, ladies and gentlemen, that if you want to back a guy who's really loyal to his community and wants to make sure the community around survives, this is a gentleman that you want to support. Remember, give him a call by calling 757-439-9902. You can learn about getting your seafood delivery in the area that he's right now servicing. You can also talk to him if you want to get involved with the business itself, be an investor, be involved, work, whatever you want to do. This is the time to call. And for most businesses, if we were all involved in the garage of when Apple was being developed all those 40, 50 years ago, look where they are today. You just never know when that opportunity comes that can take you over the limit, just like precious metals. If you want to know how to do that, you can reach out to me too. I do that too. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Give him a call, 757-439-9902. Email him, richard@makesomethinghappen.com. Look him up on Facebook at Richard Goldstein Morris. Check him out. He is there. Worst case scenario, you can also go to the Kiwanis Club, Virginia Beach Kiwanis Club Facebook page. You can leave a message there for him. Hey, just get me. Message me. I love talking to people.
One other thing I might mention, and this is where I learned a lot about you, Aaron, is you go to LinkedIn and just key in Richard Morris, Virginia Beach, or Aaron Phillips, Virginia Beach. And that essentially is like a bio on Aaron, or a bio on me about our background, our experience. And, it'll share with you the different businesses I've started and, what I'm doing today. Won't get into Jumbo Lump Daddy and crab cakes because I haven't really started that officially yet.
It's
but
coming.
That's the way to learn more about people is through LinkedIn.
Real quickly, I have a couple of last questions, and then we are done for the day. So number one, who's your favorite superhero, Batman or Superman?
Superman, because Superman was around before Batman, and that was, once a hero, you kind of got to stick with it.
Oh, Richard, I had such high hopes for you. Anyway, favorite all-time vacation spot that you haven't been to that you'd like to go to?
And I know my wife wants to go there too. Well, there's two. One is Alaska. We've been to most all the other states. Mm-hmm. We've not been to Alaska. That's kind of mine. My wife's vacation she'd like to go to is Greece. We've been to, and so there really are two, Alaska and Greece.
No worries. If a movie were made about your life, who would you like to see play you?
Who would I like to see play me?
Who's starring as Richard Morris in the full-length feature of a movie called Make Something Happen? There you go. Who would play you?
I'd like Jimmy Stewart to play me.
Okay, we can do that. We can listen, CGI is a wonderful thing.
Right.
Last but not least, final question, the only real serious one that I ask. When the day comes, many, many years from now, you are standing at the pearly gates and the maitre d' is there to greet you and welcome you in. What is it you want to hear them say to you as you enter through the gates of heaven, sir?
Welcome, I love everyone.
There you go. Couldn't have asked anything better. With that, sir, the meter has run out. Richard, my friend, I appreciate your time today. A lot of fun. And I know we barely scratched the surface on everything, but hopefully down the line, they'll hear more from you on a pending show or more from us. We'll get you back with some updates. Remember, folks, Richard at makesomethinghappen.com, 757-439-9902. The best crab cakes you can find. Mr. Richard will deliver them to you. Thank you, my friend, for coming on.
God bless.
With that, everybody, as always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned on my Facebook page so you know who's coming up on the next show. I got plans, baby. I got plans. We're making them happen. As I always like to say, be kind to everybody. Why? We are all we have. With that, have a great week, everybody. Aaron's Hour, coast to coast, coming at you next time. Thank you for watching.